I've always felt a kinship with the blackpine forest. As a child, my father would take me camping here, teaching me the lay of the land and the secrets the trees held. But tonight, as I stepped foot onto its familiar trails, the forest felt different. Almost as if it harbored a secret it wasn't ready to share. "Come on, slowpoke!" Ben's voice echoed ahead, shaking me from my reverie. I grinned, tightening my grip on my backpack and hastening my steps to catch up. My boyfriend, with his tanned arms and athletic build, was already setting up the tent, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Need some help there?" I teased, watching him fumble with the tent poles. He flashed me a sheepish smile. "I've got this, I think." Hannah and Oliver emerged from the trail behind me, both laughing and out of breath. Oliver, in his signature red beanie and glasses, stumbled and would have fallen if Hannah hadn't caught him. "Thanks, Han," he panted, pushing his glasses up. "This forest is out to get me," I laughed. "You've barely made it past the entrance, Ollie." As we set up camp near a clear stream, the sun began its descent, casting the forest in hues of orange and purple. The scene was idyllic, yet a sense of unease settled in the pit of my stomach. Maybe it was the weight of expectation. This trip had been planned for months. Or maybe it was the stories I'd heard, the whispered legends of blackpine. We gathered around the campfire as darkness enveloped the woods. The flickering flames danced, casting eerie shadows on our faces. Hannah, ever the storyteller, began sharing tales of old, tales of settlers, mysterious disappearances, and, of course, Mr. Hawthorne. "As the legend goes," she began, her voice low and mesmerizing, "Mr. Hawthorne was once a teacher who adored his students. But one betrayal turned his love into an obsession. They say he lost his mind and retreated into these very woods." Oliver, already spooked, interjected. "And let me guess, his spirit now haunts clueless campers like us." Hannah smiled mysteriously. "Not his spirit. Him. Some say he's still alive, watching, waiting, and guarding his territory." Chills ran down my spine, memories of my childhood trips to Blackpine flooding back. I remembered an old rhyme my father taught me. "In the heart of Blackpine, he waits and sees. Those who enter his land will never leave." Shaking off the feeling, I tried to lighten the mood. "Come on, hun. Enough with the ghost stories." But as the night wore on, the legend of Mr. Hawthorne felt more real than ever. Every rustle, every distant owl's hoot seemed to carry with it a warning. And when I caught a glimpse of a figure in the distance, watching us, the weight of our decision to camp in Blackpine felt heavier than ever. Chapter 2. Disturbed Dreams. I awoke to the subtle rustling of leaves. Blinking against the darkness, I strained my ears, trying to discern if what I'd heard was merely the wind or something more. Every sound was magnified. The distant hoot of an owl, the gentle babbling of the stream, the soft breathing of my friends. Ben stirred beside me, his warmth a comforting presence. "Mia," he murmured, his voice thick with sleep. "What's wrong?" I nestled closer to him, absorbing his warmth. "Did you hear that?" He paused, listening intently before shaking his head. "Just the forest. Go back to sleep." I tried, but my heart was drumming loudly in my chest, each beat echoing the chilling tales Hannah had shared earlier. Closing my eyes, I willed myself to relax, to ignore the creeping sense of dread. Just as I began to drift off, a shadow darted past our tent, its swift movement barely perceptible. My eyes flew open. "Ben," I whispered urgently. "There's someone out there." He sat up, his posture alert. "Stay here," he instructed, slowly unzipping the tent. "No." I grabbed his arm, my fingers digging into his skin. "We don't know who or what is out there." For what felt like hours, we sat in silence, straining our ears, but the forest had fallen eerily silent. Every instinct screamed at me to pack up and leave, but I pushed the feeling down. It was probably just an animal, or maybe even Oliver playing a prank. The rest of the night was restless. Dreams plagued me, twisted versions of Hannah's tales, where a figure with hollow eyes and an unsettling smile chased us through the forest, always just a step behind. Morning couldn't come soon enough. As the first light filtered through the trees, I was already awake. my body sore from tension. Emerging from the tent, I stretched, trying to shake off the remnants of my nightmares. Hannah and Oliver were up as well, the former looking as unrested as I felt. "You too?" I asked, noting her pallor. She nodded, rubbing her temples. Horrible dreams. It felt so real. Oliver scoffed, trying to lighten the mood as usual. "You guys let the ghost stories get to your heads. I slept like a baby." But his jovial tone couldn't dispel the unease that had settled over our camp. As we prepared breakfast, I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. Every now and then, I'd glance over my shoulder, half expecting to see the figure from the night before. The day passed in a blur. We tried to engage in typical camping activities, hiking, fishing, even attempting to sing some songs around a daytime fire. But the events of the previous night loomed over us, casting a pall on our spirits. It wasn't until the evening that things took a turn for the bizarre. As we were roasting marshmallows, Oliver froze, his eyes fixed on something behind me. Turning, I followed his gaze to find our belongings scattered around the campsite. Our bags ripped open, clothes strewn about, and food supplies destroyed. But what caught my attention and sent a fresh wave of terror down my spine was the message crudely scrawled on a piece of bark near the campfire. "You're not alone." The four of us stared at the piece of bark, the hastily written message sending shivers down our spines. Oliver was the first to break the silence, his voice shaky. "This isn't funny anymore. We should pack up and leave." Ben knelt to examine the scene, his fingers brushing the dirt. "It's not a prank, Ollie," he said quietly. "Someone did this. Someone or something." Hannah gulped, her eyes darting around the campsite. Could it be other campers playing tricks on us? I felt a cold dread settle in my stomach. "I don't think so. Remember what we saw last night? That figure? I think whoever it was, they're the ones behind this." Ben took my hand, squeezing it reassuringly. "We'll stick together. Keep watch in pairs. No one's getting hurt on my watch." Night fell quickly, the shadows of the trees elongating and merging until the forest was a thick blanket of darkness. The campfire, previously a source of warmth and comfort, now felt like a beacon, drawing unwanted attention. Oliver and Ben took the first watch, while Hannah and I huddled in my tent, the weight of the situation pressing down on us. The soft murmur of their voices outside was the only reminder we weren't completely alone. Sometime later, a scream pierced the night. Hannah and I bolted out of the tent, searching for the source of the sound. The fire had dwindled to embers, casting a dim light around the campsite. Ben was on his feet, his face pale, staring into the forest. "It came from over there," he whispered, pointing to a dense thicket of trees. Oliver was nowhere to be seen. "Ollie," I called, my voice trembling. "Oliver, where are you?" A soft rustling from the bushes made us all turn. Expecting to see Oliver emerge with a sheepish grin, I took a step forward. Instead, an old, worn-out doll dropped out from the darkness, landing at our feet. "That's not possible," Hannah whispered, her eyes wide with terror. "That's the doll from the stories, the one Mr. Hawthorne's favorite student had." The reality of our situation came crashing down. We were not alone in these woods, and the legends were more than just stories. Ben, his protective instincts in overdrive, took charge. "We need to find Ollie, and we need to get out of here." The three of us delved deeper into the forest, our torches piercing the darkness. Every shadow seemed to move, every rustle hinting at a lurking presence. Oliver's name echoed in the trees, our voices desperate. Hours seemed to pass, but there was no sign of him. Exhausted and on the brink of despair, we stumbled upon an old, overgrown trail. A trail that, according to the stories, led straight to Mr. Hawthorne's cabin. The trail was narrow, with tall pine trees on either side, their branches intertwining like fingers clutching a secret. We hesitated at its entrance, all too aware of the tales that spoke of those who dared to tread this path and never returned. Hannah, ever the voice of reason, spoke first. "We have no choice. If Oliver's out there and this path leads to Hawthorne's cabin, then we need to follow it." With a collective nod, we pressed on, the weight of our decision heavy in the silence around us. The further we ventured, the thicker the fog grew, obscuring our view and dampening sounds. Our footsteps became muffled, but every so often we'd hear an indistinct whisper, like a voice carried by the wind. "I hear it too," Ben whispered when I shot him a questioning look, confirming my fears. We came to a small clearing, and in the center stood a stone well, covered in moss and ivy. It looked ancient, its dark mouth gaping like an open wound. Hannah approached it cautiously, her torchlight revealing worn-out engravings around its edge. "These symbols, they're from Hawthorne's time. They were said to ward off evil spirits." I touched one, its rough texture cold beneath my fingers. Suddenly, a chill wind blew, extinguishing our torches. We fumbled in the darkness, panic setting in. "It's just the wind," Ben murmured, attempting to reignite his torch. But as the flame burst to life, it revealed something that had us all frozen in horror. Surrounding the well were footprints, fresh and unmistakably human. A haunting lullaby floated through the air, echoing in the quiet woods. It was eerily familiar, the same one from Hannah's stories, sung by the spirit of a girl lost to the forest. "We need to keep moving," Ben urged, pulling me to my feet. We left the well behind, its haunting presence still lingering. The path soon led us to the edge of a clearing, and through the dense fog, the silhouette of a cabin emerged. It was just as the stories had described, old, decrepit, and with an aura of desolation. We approached cautiously, every creak of the floorboards echoing in our ears. The door was slightly ajar, moving with the wind. Ben pushed it open slowly, revealing a room frozen in time. There were remnants of life everywhere. Dusty books, old photographs, and, most chillingly, items that looked disturbingly recent. A backpack here, a pair of glasses there. Hannah picked up a diary from a wooden table, its pages yellowed with age. "It's Hawthorne's," she whispered, her voice shaky. This details everything. His descent into madness, the betrayals, the darkness he embraced." We huddled around her, listening intently as she read out entries detailing his anguish and eventual transformation into the vengeful entity of legend. The weight of our reality crashed down on us. We were in the heart of the mystery, ensnared in Hawthorne's twisted game. And with Oliver still missing and night falling rapidly, our ordeal was far from over. While Ben and I scanned the room for any clues that might indicate where Oliver had been taken, Hannah continued poring over Hawthorne's diary, seeking any hints that might help us navigate the twisted world we'd entered. Suddenly she paused, her finger resting on a passage that read, "In the depths, where darkness thrives, I've hidden my truth, where no soul survives. To reach the heart, one must be brave and navigate the winding cave." She looked up, her face pale. "There's a mention of a cave or underground system beneath the cabin. Could Oliver be down there?" Without waiting for an answer, Hannah moved a worn rug aside, revealing a trapdoor. With a collective breath, Ben and I helped her pull it open, unveiling a set of rickety stairs descending into the abyss. With torches in hand, we cautiously made our way down. The air grew colder, a stark contrast to the autumn warmth above. The narrow passage opened up into an extensive network of tunnels, their walls glistening with moisture. We came to a crossroads, 3 different paths beckoning us. On the ground lay a tattered map, the pathways marked but with no clear indication of where they led. Ben knelt, studying it. "This place is a labyrinth. We need to mark our path or we'll get lost." Using pieces of cloth from our backpacks, we began marking our journey, always listening for any signs of Oliver. The tunnels seemed endless, each one leading to another, all eerily similar. Soft whispers echoed around us, growing louder and more distinct as we ventured deeper. Voices from the past, memories trapped within these walls, each telling a tale of despair and hopelessness. Suddenly, Hannah froze. "Do you hear that?" We strained our ears, and there it was, a faint, pained moan. Without a word, we followed the sound, our hearts racing. The tunnel opened up into a larger chamber. In the center stood a cage, and within, a figure slumped over. "Oliver!" I cried, rushing forward. He was bound and gagged, his face pale and eyes wide with fear. Ben worked quickly to free him, while Hannah and I kept watch. Once released, Oliver clung to us, his body shaking. "They're real," he whispered. "The stories, Hawthorne, he's here." We didn't need further convincing. With Oliver in tow, we retraced our steps, using the cloth markers to guide our way out. But as we neared the entrance, a chilling laugh echoed through the tunnels, sending shivers down our spines. A shadowy figure blocked our path, his features obscured by the darkness. "Thought you could escape?" The voice was cold, dripping with malice. It was him, Mr. Hawthorne. The figure stood menacingly, blocking our path to freedom. The flickering torchlight revealed hollow cheeks and wild eyes that glinted with malevolence. Mr. Hawthorne's once teacherly appearance was now marred by years in the forest's depths. Hannah took a hesitant step forward. "Why are you doing this? What do you want?" Hawthorne's laughter echoed eerily in the chamber. "What I want? I wanted peace. I wanted loyalty. But betrayal forced me into this existence." Ben squared his shoulders, positioning himself protectively in front of us. "Let us go. We mean you no harm." Hawthorne tilted his head, his gaze unwavering. "It's not that simple. You've trespassed into my domain, heard the secrets these walls whisper. Can I trust you to keep them?" Oliver, finding his voice, spoke up. "We won't tell anyone. We just want to leave and forget all this." A twisted smile formed on Hawthorne's lips. "Forget? No one forgets Blackpine." A tense silence enveloped the chamber. I felt a surge of determination. "Tell us what you want. A price for our freedom." Hawthorne studied me intently, seemingly pondering my offer. "A test," he finally declared. "If you pass, you leave. Fail, and you remain here forever." We exchanged anxious glances. With a collective nod, Ben voiced our agreement. "All right, we'll take your test." Hawthorne motioned towards a table at the side of the chamber, atop which lay a series of objects: an old photograph, a rusted key, a feather, a broken compass, and a vial containing a shimmering liquid. "Choose wisely," he intoned. "One of these will guide you out. The others lead to your doom." Hannah approached the table first, her fingers hovering over the objects. Her gaze settled on the old photograph. It depicted a younger Hawthorne, surrounded by children. Her voice barely a whisper, she said, "This is you, isn't it? Before all this." Hawthorne's eyes softened momentarily, a glint of pain evident. Memories of a time long past, but they won't help you now. Ben examined the key, considering its significance. "Could this open a door out of here?" Oliver was drawn to the compass, while I contemplated the vial's contents. Its glow seemed inviting, promising safety. In the end, it was the feather that captivated us. Simple, unassuming, yet it resonated with a sense of freedom. Picking it up, I held it high. "We choose this." Hawthorne's face remained inscrutable. "So be it." With a wave of his hand, the chamber's walls began to shift, revealing a pathway illuminated by the feather's soft glow. We hurried along, the corridor winding and turning, but always guided by the ethereal light. Emerging into the cool night, we found ourselves at the forest's edge, the ominous trees of black pine looming in the distance. The feather disintegrated in my hand, its purpose fulfilled. We didn't look back, the need to distance ourselves from the haunting memories overpowering. Back at our campsite, as dawn broke, the horrors of the night felt almost surreal. But the bond forged between us was undeniable. We'd faced our deepest fears and emerged stronger. As we packed up, eager to leave Blackpine behind, Hannah murmured, "He was once good, you know, Hawthorne. The forest changed him." And as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the trees, we made a silent pact. The mysteries of Blackpine Forest would remain undisturbed, its secrets safe with us. Days turned into weeks, and the group tried to immerse themselves in their everyday routines. But the shadow of Blackpine Forest hung over them, persistent and inescapable. Every rustle of leaves or distant owl's hoot would take Hannah back to that night. She'd often find herself sketching the ominous trees, the cryptic chamber, and the haunting figure of Mr. Hawthorne. The images flowed effortlessly from her fingertips, a cathartic release of the emotions bottled inside her. Ben, on the other hand, dived deep into researching the forest's history. He uncovered tales of ancient rituals, lost travelers, and mysterious disappearances. Among them was a story about a school teacher who vanished with a group of children. The pieces started falling into place. Oliver, ever the pragmatist, took to organizing group therapy sessions. They became their own support group, coming together to share their experiences and feelings about that fateful night. It was during one of these sessions that Oliver brought out a tattered diary. "This," he began, "belonged to my great-grandfather. He too ventured into blackpine. There's a passage here that speaks of a feather, one that glows and leads the way." As Oliver read the account, a chilling realization dawned on the group. Their experience in blackpine was not unique. The forest had a way of pulling people into its enigmatic embrace, testing them, and then setting them free, only to entice another unsuspecting soul. Meanwhile, I found solace in solitude. Long walks by the riverside became my therapy. The water's gentle flow seemed to wash away the memories, if only momentarily. But every so often, I'd spot a feather floating downstream. Its ethereal glow a stark reminder of the choices made and the price paid. One evening, as the sun cast a golden hue over the horizon, I was joined by Hannah on my riverside sojourn. Handing me a sketch, she whispered, "I've been seeing him in my dreams. Hawthorne, he's not at peace." The sketch depicted Hawthorne standing at the forest's edge, his silhouette juxtaposed against a crimson backdrop, as if beckoning us back. His eyes, previously malevolent, now reflected sorrow and a desperate plea. "We can't go back," I murmured, but my conviction wavered. The bond forged in blackpine was powerful. The group couldn't ignore Hawthorne's silent call. They had to confront their fears and lay the restless spirit to rest. And so, as the chapter closed, a decision was made. The group would venture into blackpine once more, not as frightened intruders, but as determined saviors, seeking to mend a fractured soul and free the forest from its tormented shackles. The journey back into blackpine's embrace was about to begin. The tale of courage, redemption, and confronting one's demons continued to unfold.